Greetings and welcome to the third video in our series about the method of interior prayer by Saint Jean-Baptiste De La Salle. In this session we will talk about the second part of the method, meditating about Jesus. So far we've gone through the preparation to prayer, which is recollection, and the first part of the method, which is deepening in our sense of the presence of God. Now, the second part of the method is arguably the most important. It is the meditation of the mysteries, virtues, or maxims of Jesus Christ. And according to Saint La Salle, this is the essential part of the prayer. The first part, the part of the presence of God, can be abbreviated in order to get to this one when you have a shorter period of time to dedicate to prayer. This second part is also going to be developed in acts or little units of prayer with particular focus, very similarly to the way the first part was developed. So again, we need to choose a text from Scripture. In this case, it's mostly going to be from the Gospel, although it could be also from some of the New Testament texts that speak of Jesus, even if they're not directly the Gospels. And from this text, we're going to choose a maxim, a virtue, or a mystery of the life of Jesus that we want to contemplate, to meditate in prayer, or to get closer to, so we can learn from it. So a maxim would be a short sentence that summarizes the wisdom of Jesus and the teachings of Jesus. A virtue, I think, is very clear, one of his positive characteristics, his moral and personal strengths. And a mystery would be an aspect of his life in which the action of God is manifest in a way that might not be fully understandable from a human perspective. So again, let's pay attention to the focus of our minds. And in the presence of God, let's look at Jesus, so we can develop the first three acts of the second part. Once again, the acts are going to flow from one another and be very well connected. We start again with an act of faith. In this instance, we're going to express that we believe in the mystery that we are meditating, or that Jesus modeled the virtue we are focusing on, or taught the maxim that we are taking for our prayer. We tell Jesus we truly believe that this was part of his life, part of his message here on earth, and part of his message for me personally. Then we go again into adoration, because we believe in these things. It is natural to feel this interior movement to worship Jesus, to recognize his grandeur, the excellence of his teachings, the excellence of his examples, the wonderful ways in which he represents the action of God in the world, in human life, in human flesh. And from this worship and adoration, we go again into thanksgiving, telling Jesus, thank you for showing us the way, for being our model, for letting us know it's possible to live in a Christian way, in a fulfillingly human way. The next three acts are going to require that we redirect our attention to look at ourselves, and we remain in company of Jesus, and with Him we look at ourselves and into the act of confusion, recognizing that in spite of my true belief and admiration of Jesus, of His teachings, of His mysteries, of His virtues, I have oftentimes failed to imitate Him or to translate His teachings effectively into my life and into the lives of those around me. Because of that, I will express contrition, recognizing those shortcomings, the lack of willingness to do these things better, to imitate Jesus in a better way, in a clearer way, asking for forgiveness for any sins, any issues that I have experienced in this effort. And from that feeling of asking for forgiveness and feeling we receive it, being in this presence of God, in this company of Jesus, we go into the act of application, asking Jesus to come to me and to let me come to Him, to help me be more like Him, to help me make the mystery I'm meditating, or the virtue, or the teaching, penetrate into my soul and guide me through life. And as I ask for Him to be with me, for me to be with Him, I'm going to formulate a commitment. In the mind of Saint La Salle, there's no true prayer if it doesn't transform our lives, if it doesn't have a clear, direct manifestation in our everyday lives. So it is in this act that we will formulate a commitment inspired by my prayer, inspired by this text I'm meditating, by this virtue, this teaching, this mystery. And commitments from prayer in the mind of Saint La Salle have three very clear characteristics. They must be present, meaning time-specific, preferably something that you can start doing that same day, the day you're praying. Not only start, but even something that you can finish doing, completely do on that day. If the commitment is something larger, lengthier, it's fine, but you should know that you're able to start about it right away. It should also be something concrete, very clear and specific, something suitable to be assessed, to be evaluated, that when night comes, you clearly know whether you accomplished this commitment or not. And finally, it should be something effective, meaning relevant to your life. Don't commit to do something that you were going to do anyway, something that you always do, something that is already part of who you are and what you do. Commit to the things that are challenging for you and that represent a real step forward in your Christian pathway. Relevant to your life, helping you to be better. A better Christian, a better human being. Something that builds up the relationship you have with God, with yourself, and with those around you. Then we change our focus of attention to look at ourselves. We continue looking at ourselves, actually, and we go into an act of unity. Again, it flows from the act of application. And I go beyond it and ask Christ to be one with me and let me be one in Him. And as I have a commitment now, I ask Him to be the one who acts in me to make this commitment come true, to help me actually realize this commitment. Then we have an act of request, a petition. This is where we ask God the necessary graces and dispositions to accomplish my commitments and to do so with and in Jesus. And this is also the time to ask for anything else we need in prayer, or for anything else someone else needs and we want to intercede for them to get. Finally, thinking of the text that is the base of this prayer, of this meditation, I try to find a saint that is a model of the virtue, of the mystery, of the teaching I am meditating about, or a saint with whom I have a special relationship, to whom I have special devotion. And I pray to them that they intercede before God for me, to be able to achieve my commitments, to get the things I'm requesting for me or for others, and to keep growing in my spiritual life. Again, the text for the practice is from the readings of the day. After saying these things, Jesus was troubled in his spirit and testified, "Truly, truly, I say to you, one of you will betray me." The disciples looked at one another, uncertain of whom he spoke. One of his disciples, whom Jesus loved, was reclining at the table at Jesus' side. So Simon Peter motioned to him to ask Jesus of whom he was speaking. So that disciple, leaning back against Jesus, said to him, "Lord, who is it?" Jesus answered, "It is he to whom I will give this morsel of bread when I have dipped it." So when he had dipped the morsel, he gave it to Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot. Then, after he had taken the morsel, Satan entered into him. The Gospel of the Lord. So if you have followed this series of videos in a single session, we are ready to practice the second part. Otherwise, please take a minute to connect with the presence of God, to do maybe a summarized version of the first part of the method on your own that prepares you to come into the second part. And then from the text that we have just heard, choose a mystery, a maxim, or virtue. It could be, for example, the virtue of truth. Jesus is telling the truth, even if it's a hard truth. It could also be, for example, the mystery of his forgiveness and his love, and how, even though he knew he was going to be betrayed by Judas, he keeps Judas at his side until the last moment. He invites him into the Last Supper. He keeps loving him. Whatever mystery or maxim or virtue you want to take from the text, You use it as inspiration and express to Jesus your faith, your adoration for the way he goes about life, showing this particular characteristic or message that you're focusing on, giving him thanks for his example, for modeling these virtues. Recognizing how you don't fully understand that some of the virtues you most admire and most appreciate, you sometimes fail to enact. Asking forgiveness for any shortcomings, asking Jesus to be with you in the way of growing in his teachings, in his spirit, and in the development of a commitment. Now is the time to formulate your commitment from the day, inspired in your prayer. Once you have this commitment, make sure that it's formulated in a way that is, for today, very clear to you and easy to evaluate by the end of the day, and also suitable to transform your life, to push you forward in your spiritual life. With this commitment held into your heart, ask to be one with Jesus. Ask of him whatever you need, whatever the people you love might need. And then bring into the prayer a saint who has been a model for you, whom you are devoted to, or whom you find connected to the matter of your prayer. Again, pause this video if necessary and take as much time as you need for each of the acts. Remember, they can be developed by reasoning, with short reflections, with longer reflections, or by simple attention and contemplation. These are the acts of the second point.